Welcome, Mr. Gnome, and welcome to this crypto update. Now, today's video, I could be extremely bearish and I could rant about manipulation. I could rant about the price suppression, the exchanges, Trump, every kind of thing imaginable. But instead of doing all of that, let me show you a couple of things that may give you a different perspective. So first off, when we go over to Etherscan and we take a look at the token USDT on Ethereum blockchain, you can see that the max supply has now increased to over 100 billion USDT. So this is a new all-time high for USDT, which is obviously amazing. And when we take a look at the amount of holders of USDT on Ethereum, you can see on October 9th, 2 weeks ago, it was 8,917,000 holders. And now we're basically 2 weeks later, we have an increase of 100,000 USDT holders on Ethereum blockchain. And this is unprecedented. This is an increase of 1% holders within a span of 2 weeks. That is massive, and that signals huge adoption of USDT on Ethereum. So fundamentally that is good for Ethereum because it means more value is running on Ethereum. It means more fees are generated on Ethereum. And all in all, it means that there's potentially more flows going into altcoin markets and into Ethereum and Bitcoin and all these other assets as well down the line. But all in all, this is fundamentally good. Also, when we go and take a look at the fear and greed index, you can see right now the fear and greed index is at 28. And when we take a look at the value here at the low, let's see, the value was 25 here on 18th of October. Was it any lower at any moment lately? No, but 25, that is lower than it was here when Bitcoin price was $26,000 roughly 2 years ago. Even at these lows, the lowest value was 26. So the fear was higher than it was here at 60K low or 50K low when it wicked to 50K. Obviously, in the when Bitcoin dropped to 79K here, it went to extreme fear into the value 19. So we could still see further downside, but already there has been so much fear in the markets, and right now we are seeing posts from many people essentially calling what a scam Bitcoin is, what a scam crypto is, like let's see here. So Ted Pillows here is saying, why am I exhausted? Crypto is now fully controlled by a major players, insider information. We traded perfectly, but then Trump basically essentially made a tweet, and then the markets just dropped, and they basically got the pump got wiped out, but they managed their risk. So all in all, after all of this complaining, he says Ted has now left the building, and I believe this is the sentiment that many people currently share, that it's too hard to make money in this market and we should all just give up because obviously there's a lot of dilution, especially with altcoins, and even Bitcoin is heavily manipulated by exchanges, by Trump, by insiders who have the insider information of what Trump is about to tweet, or if he's gonna go into another trade war with China or Russia or Venezuela or whatever country he comes up with. So with all that being said, just looking at the market structure here, we are above this trend line here. And as long as we are above this trend line, essentially above $103,000, then we are still in a bull market. This is not a break of structure yet. Now, if we fall below 103K on this price here, then I actually do expect that we would go to like 91K because there's an open CME gap here. Then we might have a bounce back to the upside, and then I would not be surprised even if 76K, 75K would get tagged to take the price down here if we go into that bear market condition. But right now we're still above the trend line, so it's very hard for me to actually flip bearish. Now, what are institutions doing as of now? When we hop over to bitcointreasuries.net, since my last update, there has been one more entity here holding Bitcoin. And that is not a large increase. Usually we see within a span of a week, we see 2, 3, 4, even 5 entities more holding Bitcoin as a treasury asset. So now we only saw one entity increase their holdings. But when we take a look at the Bitcoin amount in treasuries, ETFs, and all these things together, you can see right now is 4.04 million Bitcoin. And that is an increase of 130,000 Bitcoin in governments, private companies, public companies, DeFi contracts, exchanges, ETFs. So all in all, institutions are still stacking Bitcoin. Now, if we just zoom closely, you can see that the stacking essentially has ended here. We haven't seen any increases at the end here anymore. So right now, fear is definitely in the markets, and the market is now deciding where it actually wants to go from here. But institutions, at least, let's say, at least 1 week ago, were still buying Bitcoin. So that is fundamentally good. I would like to have seen more increases this week, but we haven't seen that, unfortunately. Then hopping over to over to sentiment.net. Unfortunately, here I don't have good news for you guys, but in the short-term analysis, I will have some good news once again. But here, when I look at the supply of Bitcoin on exchange reserves, what we have essentially seen since the flash crash, since the liquidation, the manipulation event, the amount of Bitcoin essentially started to leave exchanges in droves because people wanted to take their Bitcoin out of exchanges. People started to have PTSD of the FTX collapse, that their assets might get frozen, stuck in a bankruptcy situation. So people started to withdraw their Bitcoin out of exchanges once again. But now you can see Bitcoin is entering back into exchanges. So this is not what we like to see, because typically when people send Bitcoin to exchanges, that means that they want to sell their Bitcoin. So this essentially signals that profit taking has been taking place for the last, let's say, 10 days. And not only profit taking, it could be capitulation as well. But Bitcoin has entered into exchanges. So that is obviously not great. The stablecoin market cap continues to increase, which is nice. But here, this is again another annoying thing when I look at fundamentally where Bitcoin is. So when we take a look at the dormant circulation, which only tells us that wallets that have held Bitcoin for more than 90 days are currently selling Bitcoin yesterday. So there was a movement of 41,000 Bitcoin that hasn't been moved for more over 90 days. And then when we take a look at wallets that have held Bitcoin for more than 1 year, there's also a spike here at the end. But wallets that have held Bitcoin for more than 3 years, we didn't see a large amount of sales from those wallets, but there were still significant sales over October 21st and October 22nd. So old whales are on the sell side, as institutions have still been buying, but if whales outpace if insiders cannot outpace the sell pressure from these old whales, then obviously the market will have to go down. So there's a battle, and that's why I made the video I made last week. But here, this is perhaps the most annoying chart for me as I'm trying to be bullish on this market. So when we take a look at the price of Bitcoin, you can see that the price is essentially the same as it was at this low and at this low. But what has changed is the percentage of Bitcoin supply in profit. So this has completely plummeted to the downside, even though the price is essentially the same. It was here and here. So what that tells me is that when the price went all the way up to this new all-time high here, this is when whales really sold off. And right now, as Bitcoin price is at this low, there are a lot of new buyers, but essentially trapped since buying this top. And if old whales are currently selling, that is not the greatest signal, because that means that they don't have confidence that Bitcoin will go any higher than here, which means that if we see any pumps, I would expect whales to actually come in and sell very rapidly once again. So this is telling me that whales have turned bearish. So that kind of defeats my bullish bias. So this is very annoying to me. It's a clear change in trend. I don't really want to talk about these other things because they essentially just confirm what I just said there as well. But in the short term fundamentals, I have good news and then I have bad news. So I will give you guys the good news first. So the good news is when we take a look at the liquidation heat map, you can see that right now, most of the liquidations, if whales and exchanges want to manipulate the market, they would want Bitcoin to actually go to the upside to like 118K or 117K at least. You can see the bright yellow color here. This is the liquidation zone where most people would get liquidated at right now. So it's quite likely that Bitcoin would go to this high as well. Then there starts to be this liquidation zone right above the previous all-time high as well. But right now, if whales truly are on the sell side, we may not actually reach a new all-time high yet. But honestly, I would not be surprised if we actually go there as well. Trump, he may announce whatever he wants to announce, obviously, but he is a large holder of Bitcoin. And as we know how he wants to manipulate the markets for his own benefit and for the benefit of Baron Trump and Eric Trump and all of those grifters, I would not be surprised that he comes up with some scheme to pump Bitcoin price to the upside for them to basically benefit from the mania. So this is here as well. So this is all good news in my opinion. There's not a lot of liquidations essentially below us unless we break the support level and go below 103K and essentially to 91K where we have the open CME gap as well. But to the bad news. So when we take a look at the aggregated spot order book depth, this is what I typically look at when I think of where could we see resistance, where could we see support. And right now at this price drop here, there's not a lot of buy dominance on the limit order side. So this is not what I like to see after a price crash. What I want to see after a price crash is something like this, that we have a dominance of $100 million more limit buy orders than limit sell orders within a 3% price move of the current price point. So right now we're not seeing that here, which signals that people are really cautious of longing Bitcoin or shorting Bitcoin. And the same essentially goes true also on the futures side. There's also the same amount of limit buy and limit sell orders on the order books. But what's worrying to me right now with the order books is just the sheer fact that when we take a look at the size of this, the amount of limit sell orders on the order books and the amount of limit buy orders, you can see how thin the order book is right now. This is essentially the lowest levels that the order book has been throughout essentially in the last 2 months. So the order books are very, very thin, which allows again for price manipulation on the whale side. So if the whales want, they can pump the markets. If they want to crash the market, they can, because there's essentially no liquidity in the order books as of now. So that tells me that we could see a lot of volatility, and we could if we don't see consistent buy pressure coming back to the market, we could see something like this. Now, this is not a price analysis. I'm just giving you an idea how Bitcoin could go from here based on all the different factors. So right now we are in this downtrend here. So we could go sideways for a while, and then we flash crashed 104K, something like this. Why we crashed 104K, I don't know. maybe just because it's in this trend line, and when the price hits the trend line, we have a violent reaction just because we had a violent reaction earlier from this trend line as well. And then we are essentially in this longer term trend line, and then we have a flash move to the upside to this 117k price level. Something like this is currently what I'm kind of waiting for. Now, from 117k, it remains to be seen how whales will react. But if whales are essentially coming here, and I will be pressing the sell button, by the way, if we do go to 117k after we break through this this trend line. If we go to 117k, I press the sell button, then obviously it can continue to go to the upside, but I expect a move back to the downside first, and then another move to the upside. Hopefully we get that, and hopefully we don't just fall down here, because that is obviously another opportunity that this trend line gets broken completely. But again, just to emphasize that the fear and greed is already very, very low. If we get one more scare to the downside, we essentially allow all of the retail investors, all of the people to throw in the towel, say, this is it, it's never gonna recover again. And then what happens? Whales essentially try to bait people back into crypto, and we go for a push to the upside once more. So that is essentially my bullish case for crypto. And I know this does not really sound bullish, but with all of the manipulation going on, with no idea how the trade wars actually go, with the rare earths and all these things, and right now Trump is trying to block Russian oil once again with sanctions. If energy prices go up, that typically leaves less room for speculative assets. So I wouldn't be surprised, at least, that we go for a push to the downside. But from there, because of the whale manipulation, all these things, to get one more push to the upside here, take out the liquidations here, then to the downside, or to the downside and to the upside. That is currently my expectation for the market. Now, I'm sorry I don't have any better analysis than this. This is essentially the best that I could currently conjure up, because we are not in control of this market anymore. The control is in the exchanges, with the manipulators, with the insiders, and technical analysis is just it doesn't really matter as much as it did before, because now we know who is in charge, and that is one of the reasons why people are quitting like Ted. So that's the update for you guys today. Sorry for being negative, but this is the crypto update. It is what it is. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.